Continue with our next presentation, because we came back to the poster of Arturs Katamadze, the work entitled Use of Handheld RGB Cameras to Monitor Plant Growth and Stress Responses, a case study of 62 Portuguese with varieties from 1933 to 2020 under concentrating water regimes. Arturs is from Universidade Nova de Lisboa. So Arturs, whenever you come, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my poster. I'll share my screen and I'll explain what we did. So I think you can see my screen, right? Everything's good. All right. So for the context, why we wanted to test this camera and RGB indices is that, well, and why do we even have this study, is that in Portugal, the wheat production is dramatically decreasing since 1960s, and it's gone down like tenfold. And with that, of course, the import is increasing. And in past years, the price of wheat is also increasing. So it might get very expensive for Portugal to import wheat. And Portugal is well suited. Well, it's not well suited, but there are regions in Portugal where wheat can be grown. And one of these representative regions is in Elvas. It's Alentejo region, of course. And our field station is also located there in Elvas. And in field trials, together with INIAV, it's I guess the only breeder for wheat in Portugal. We tested 34 bred wheat and 28 durum wheats. And we have a collection where we have most, well, not most famous, but most grown wheat varieties since 1933 until 2020. Of course, the ones from 1930 and 1940s, 50s were less represented. So we don't have a lot of varieties since those times. We have more since 1980s. We have collection is well represented. And in these field trials, we have two conditions, irrigated and rain-fed. And we tested how well does the RGB indices from a regular consumer camera hold up against this NDVI indices. So are they comparable? Are they not comparable? What can we extract from that? Of course, and then for the results, we calculated this GA index. It's a green area index from RGB camera. So what happens is that there's a ImageJ tool called Serial Scanner, and it just calculates in the area how many green pixels there are and how green they are, or the color of green. In different spectrums, you can separate and assign a value to it. What we discovered is that this RGB indices are very well correlated with NDVI indices. And even so, one great argument for GA indexes is that at lower yields, it predicts the yield better, because NDVI is a very strong signal and it detects if it's green, it gives it maximum 100%. But with this, we can say it's green, but some things are greener than that, or we have more room for like distinguishing. So that's why GA is less affected by saturation compared to NDVI. For example, NDVI can be used for sentinel images, and you obtain great NDVI data from there. But if you are close to the ground, it's very strong signal. So that's why it gets saturated. Anyway, for our collection, we also could say that we can associate this grain yield to this GA index. So we went to the field multiple times and we found out that so 129 days after sowing is probably the best time to go to the field and to assess the sensor data. And this is a little bit after heading, and it's before anthesis, obviously. And yeah, we see that yield increase is what GA is well correlated with yield, especially in durum wheat. In durum wheat, both in irrigated and rain-fed conditions, with yields, of course, being a little bit higher in in irrigated conditions. But here I want to mention that our field, this was the first time we did this field trial, and we had some problems with weeds, and that's why some plots, you know, when wheat is senescing, it's losing color, but the weeds are still there and they are still green, and they are really influencing the RGB indexes, and that's why the yield estimation was bad for the bread wheats, because in those plots we had most weeds. And regardless of that, we also can see that over the years since 1940s, the GA indexes are increasing, and I don't have a picture here, but the yield is also increasing, obviously. And interestingly, you can also, you can also see that there is differences between rain-fed and irrigated. So with this index, we also can understand, we can notice stress, if there is stress or there isn't, like drought stress, which also correlates with yield. So it's a very nice, cheap tool. You can probably do this with your mobile phone camera as well. So yeah, we want to, in summary, we want to say that this weed breeding collection in Portugal has been improving over the years. So that's nice. And we also want to mention that these use of RGB camera and this GA index is comparable to NDVI, and perhaps it can be a lower cost for the same amount of information you get. So, any questions?
Thank you, Arturs, from your presentation. Yeah, let's pass if anyone has any question to you.
Albert, may I?
Sure.
Arturs, thank you for your nice presentation. Regarding your results, I didn't quite understand. Comparing the irrigated with non-irrigated wheat in the graph that you showed. So the irrigated one is less affected by the water stress. Is that? No,
well, we can, I mean, of course, the yield is lower in the rain-fed conditions. Yeah. And we can also see that with the GA index, that this rain-fed conditions are here lower. The GA is lower for the rain-fed conditions. Yeah. And also when it's correlating with yield, it is also lower in rain-fed conditions compared to yield. So this GA index shows us that there is stress. And I want to also point out that this GA index was calculated before we even had yield, or when plants were still green. So it's an estimate of yield. So it can estimate yield quite well, and it can estimate that plants are stressed. I want to say that.
But looking at the graph, or what is the yield after the harvest? I mean, the middle graph is the harvested, you know, the production, right? At the end of the season, right? These are the actual yield values. So for the rain-fed in general, the yield is better than the irrigated is better than the rain-fed, or the other way around? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was my internet, sorry.
No, it's okay. The yield values or the measured yield values for the irrigated is better than the rain-fed, or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Even so that this year was very good for wheat growing. We had 300 millimeters of precipitation, and in irrigated we added only extra 42 millimeters. So this is pretty low values. And even so, we see that in irrigated conditions, the yield is better. It was only better by only like 50 kilograms, but you know, it was still better.
Okay. And then the last graph shows that it's the other way around, right? For the irrigated and the rain.
No. The last graph just shows that over the years, the GA index is increasing. It's not related with yield.
And you had these RGB images for all these years?
No. We have varieties that
Okay.
were grown during those years. For example, in Portugal during 1933, the most famous wheat grown by area was something, and then in 50s it was something. So we just have a collection of those.
So you have a collection, and you grow them in your field labs. You had a trial fields from all these varieties, right?
Yeah. And then we just compare them against each other.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. Even the simple application of RGB is quite valuable, right?
Yeah.
I understand correctly.
Yeah. Of course, this project that we're working on is much larger than this. We measure many more things, and we use Lycor, we use thermal cameras. But yeah, for this poster, I chose to kind of take some simple things.
And then what you're also saying and showing here, that this GA is not affected by the saturation of
it's still affected. It's still affected by weeds and by green saturation, but it somehow responds better than NDVI index.
Yeah, because NDVI index is not reliable at the beginning of the season when you have the soil background effects, too sparse wheat plants, and also after the heading, as you mentioned here, the canopies closure, and then you have saturation effect for which the red band does not change.
Yeah, you're right.
So that is, so here the effect is less for the GA index compared to NDVI.
Yeah, because we can there's a color scheme. I don't have it at hand, but we can tell how green a pixel is, and by that you can estimate. Yeah.
Okay.
That is what.
Thank you. Interesting.
Any more questions?
Seems that not. You have clearly explained your work. So thank you again, Arturs, for joining us and for sending this work to this workshop. Many thanks.
Thank you.
And congratulations.